slow and steady wins the race. The Tortoise and the Hare is not just a story most of us know about. It's also a story that has great meaning when moving through life. Patience is a tool that, if used and learned how to be used correctly, can almost always make sure you come out victorious in all the situations you are put through in life. While on the other hand, being too hasty and rushing through life can lead to unwise decisions, unthought out actions, and in some cases can have very serious negative consequences. In Greek mythology, there's a story of a young man by the name of Orpheus, the son of Apollo. When he was young, his father gave him a lyre and was surprised how well he could play it. As he got older, his music became so enticing that it could charm the heart of anything, whether man or beast. It is said that even the trees and the mountains would move when he played. One day, Orpheus met a nymph of untold beauty by the name of Eurydice. They fell deeply in love, and were together for many years, and soon were married. On their wedding day, the god of marriage, Hymen, was called to bless the couple, but refused, and said nothing good would come from the marriage. Not long after, Eurydice was walking in the forest with some nymphs, when she ran into a certain shepherd who despised Orpheus and lusted after Eurydice. The shepherd then made advances toward Eurydice, but Eurydice rejected his advances, became scared, and fled. As she ran close to a viper, was bitten, and died. This crushed Orpheus, and he began to play a song from his lyre that melted the heart of everything alive or dead. His song even managed to move the hearts of the gods, till finally, his father Apollo told him to go to the underworld and see his beloved Eurydice. So Orpheus traveled to the underworld, where no man can go without dying. But Orpheus was protected by the gods. As Orpheus walked, he played his lyre and calmed the hearts of all the spirits and beasts of the underworld, so much so that the beasts who would torture the spirits in Hades were moved and stopped what they were doing to hear him play. And when confronted by the three-headed dog Cerberus, who guarded the gate where Hades resided, the dog was so taken by Orpheus' song that it stood frozen and could not move at all when Orpheus passed him. When he made in front of Hades and his wife, Persephonus, the god of the underworld wept, and his wife's heart melted. Orpheus reminded Hades that no harm would come in returning Eurydice, because all things must die, and if he gave her back to him, Hades later would inevitably have her soul and his. Hades was so touched by Orpheus, he relented and told him that he may have his beloved back, but under one condition. He must walk back to the surface, and Eurydice will follow behind him, and he must not look back at all until he and Eurydice completely leave the underworld, because if he does look back, he will lose Eurydice forever. Orpheus, who felt he could handle such a task, agreed. As Orpheus began his journey through the cave, he started to worry. Then soon, paranoia and impatience set in. He kept thinking that this was all just Hades cheating him, and that Eurydice was not following him. Orpheus so desperately wanted her to be behind him, because if she wasn't, he knew that all he went through was for nothing. He couldn't just come back and talk to the god of the underworld again, because no man can go to Hades twice and be alive. He also could not hear Eurydice's footsteps behind him. Plus, he wanted to hold her desperately. Every step he took consumed him with more and more eagerness and doubt. The light in the world of the living started to show. Orpheus hurried forward, anxious to leave and finally be reunited with his beloved. Once he exited the underworld, he was so relieved and quickly turned around to see the truth. But it was too early. Once he turned around, he saw that Eurydice had not left out the cave yet. He realized that Hades had not lied to him, and the reason why he could not hear Eurydice's footsteps was because she was just a shadow, waiting to be turned to human. And now she could never be human, because Orpheus, stricken with impatience and eagerness, had immediately stepped out the cave and turned around, without giving Eurydice enough time to exit and become human. Orpheus, realizing his mistake, quickly tried to reach out to his beloved, but it was too late. All he heard was farewell as she disappeared, gone forever. Orpheus lost his mind after that. He tried to go back to the underworld, but could not, because no man can go to Hades twice and be alive. He then began to wish for death and played a song filled with his sorrows. His music touched and moved everything alive or dead and drew them to him. He soon was sought after by many maidens seeking to be his lover, but Orpheus was too lost in his sorrows to pay attention to them, nor was he interested in them at all. His beloved Eurydice was what he wanted. Soon it was a deep crowd of maidens that surrounded Orpheus. He paid no attention to them, nor did he pay attention to how their soft voices turned to screams and their nice emotions towards him turned to violent rage and lust for blood. His blood. Orpheus never noticed how the crowd hurled rocks and other harmful things that were all pushed away from him, no matter how much strength was used to throw it. Orpheus stayed unknowing until the screams of the crowd overpowered the music and no barrier could protect him. The crowd of vicious maidens killed Orpheus and cut him to pieces. He wished for death and got what he wanted. But a couple of muses kept his head so that he could sing for them for all eternity. Now, there's countless more stories of people who let eagerness and impatience overtake them and as a result suffered severe consequences. Orpheus was so worried about being betrayed by Hades and his eagerness to be with his beloved that he destroyed the only chance he had to prove the god of marriage, Haim, wrong. Hades specifically stated that both he and Eurydice must leave the underworld together, and when he finally realized that, it was too late. Not once, when he was stricken with worry and doubt, did he ever stop to think and realize that he was under the protection of the gods, and in no way, shape, or form were they going to allow Hades to betray him. Look, even though this is a story of Greek mythology, its moral needs to be applied. Through life, there are so many paths to take, trials to overcome, things to learn as well as experience. And the truth about that is, not all of those things are meant for us. Meaning, when going through life, we have to specifically pick which things are right for ourselves, and the only way to do this is if we take the time to look and analyze everything that is in front of us. Just jumping into the first thing that seems good to us without taking the time to analyze everything can have serious consequences. And what makes it worse, in facing those consequences, you will not be properly prepared, and therefore will feel every piece of damage that consequence can cause, because you did not properly see or analyze the consequences that could have came from the decision. All you saw and jumped into was what looked good to you. Always take the time to wait things out, and if any of the choices in life don't feel right for you, then forget them and wait for the thing you want to come around. Because jumping into things you did not want to in the first place will only make you more desperately want the thing you've been desiring, and you will ultimately regret and doubt your decision, which is never good. And remember, whether dealing with life or split decisions, when using patience, you will be able to view and analyze every option, outcome, and calculate every strategy that can possibly be made. So then when you are ready to do whatever you are trying to do, you will be fully prepared with all the tools needed to succeed. This is Creeptv. Ain't no gentleman here, only creeps with no fear. Signing out.